Alright, what's happening, y'all? It's your boy Rico from StreetScores, and I'm officially hitting y'all with the Washington Commanders versus Chicago Bears Monday Night Football game preview. Of course, we have our most important matchup and stats to go through. Like, what are the most important parts in this matchup that, like, we really got to focus on? Like, run game, passing game, specific players, specific plays, concepts, whatever. And I'm going to back those things up with a lot of stats and break down why those are the most important. But then we also have a lot of other matchup and stats that we got to get into as well. But before we even get into all of that, I have to give you the final injury update. Who's playing, who's not for both the Commanders and the Bears. And at the end, of course, I'm gonna give y'all my score prediction. It's not even just the score prediction. I'll also tell you like a couple of things, like I feel like this player is gonna go off and this is why. I feel like this player is gonna go crazy and this is why. So stay tuned for all of that. Make sure you watch throughout the entire video. And before we get into everything, make sure you stiff arm that like button, stiff arm the subscription button, and stiff arm the bell next to that subscription button so you get notification each and every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one. Make sure you stay tuned to all of the content. Appreciate y'all for supporting every video. Shouts out to my watch to the end gang, man. Shouts out to y'all watching all the way through. Shouts out to the late night crew. Shouts out to Noti gang as well, man. Really appreciate all of y'all, man. And let's go ahead and dive into this video right now. Instead of wasting even more of y'all time, let's get it. Adam. All right, so first of all, let's go take the NFC East Monday night. Tomorrow night, the Commanders have a chance to take the NFC East crown. After the Eagles have lost 2 in a row, most notably that last loss against the Giants that has a lot of people questioning them, the Commanders have the chance to be in the driver's seat of the NFC East. And it's crazy because just a couple of weeks ago, the sky was falling after the Falcons loss, according to a lot of Commanders fans. And now, suddenly, we have a chance to be #1 in the division, with honestly the Cowboys looking like they're probably the worst team in the division. So Commanders first after a Bears loss, and then the Cowboys last. Sounds like a great NFC East to me. So let's just go get it done. Shouts out to Mark Phillips. He said 12 days ago, the Commanders lost to the Falcons while the Eagles were beating the Bucks, giving the Eagles a 2-game lead in the division. That's why I felt like insurmountable. They had a 2-game lead. 3 days from now, well, he tweeted this back on October 10th. So now tomorrow, Washington plays a game with a chance to move into first place. It's really amazing what a week-to-week league this is. And that's why people shouldn't overreact over things that are like, especially just taking place within the first couple of weeks. Also, JP Finley let everybody know that the Commanders and Bears Monday Night Football game is a sellout. All tickets are sold. It's going to be packed, and I'm pretty sure it's going to be majority of Commanders fans. And the team has been really asking y'all. Jaden Daniels mentioned in the press conference way back on Wednesday, everybody that gets a chance to, and even the team themselves, even putting out graphics for it, are asking and urging, begging fans, honestly, to please wear all black to the game, bro. It could be a very cool environment in Landover, Maryland. We could really create something there. Speaking of the all black, here are your team captains going into this game. You have John Bates on offense. You have Mike Sanverstill on special teams, I believe, and then Dorrance Armstrong on defense, which is interesting because Mike Sanverstill, you know, going into the season, I thought he would be one of our best defensive players. And, you know, just because he's the special teams guy, that doesn't mean that he's not necessarily playing well on defense, because he now has back-to-back interception games against the Falcons and the Chargers. Maybe he'll go get one on Caleb Williams to make it 3 games in a row. But he's also been a really good special teamer. I remember at some point in that Chargers game, he went down there, I think it was a kickoff coverage. He went out there and made a really good open field tackle for like a minimal return against the Chargers. So I'm not surprised, but that's just really interesting though. Those are your 3 captains right there. I honestly feel like that's just 1 offensive player and 2 defensive players, but I guess if you had to pick anybody to technically be the special teamer, it would be Mike Sanverstill. But either way, let's move on to more important news, the final injury update for this Commanders-Bears matchup. And as you can see on the screen right now, first of all, Terry McLaurin obviously out, as you see on the screen. I thought that there was a chance as of a few days ago that he would play. I mean, John Comm even said if he had to guess, like a few days ago, Terry McLaurin would play. And then you had Dan Quinn saying that I'm optimistic that he will play this week. Well, now it's official. Terry McLaurin will not play. And so now, games missed by Terry McLaurin as of he's officially been ruled out for Monday Night Football. Between the years of 2019 through 2024, he only missed 3. none since 2020, which is even crazier. And then 2025 already missed 3 as well through just week 6. So he's already missed as many games this season as he missed the previous 5 seasons combined, bro. That is absolutely insane, bro. And then also Noah Brown has now missed 4 consecutive games as well, but that's not even as much news. Again, I treat this team as if Noah Brown's not there. I like him, and if he's out there and he's healthy and he's playing, I'm rooting for him. But Noah Brown, the injury concerns that we had for him, even when we first signed him right before the start of the last year's regular season, you already kind of knew and kind of expected that. But going back to Terry McLaurin, who like really has an impact on our games for not being available, Grant Paulson brings up a great point that Terry McLaurin missed just 3 games via injury over his first 6 NFL seasons ever. But he played in 94 of Washington's 97 games during that span, going the last 68 contests without even missing any time at all. And now as of Monday, he would have missed 3 games in the Commanders' first 6 games of 2025. And shouts out to Coach Breeze. He brings up a great point, bro. Terry McLaurin could not have had a worse start to this season after the way the offseason went. Because even just beyond the injuries and him missing games and the whole thing about why, a lot of fans were angry at Adam Peters saying, just go ahead and pay Terry. He's Terry. What he does on and off the field, he's constantly available. Well, this is the point that Adam Peters was trying to prove, bro. When you reach, for some reason, that age 30, there's just something that happens and guys are just less durable for whatever reason. And it's crazy too, because Terry McLaurin got hurt because he still refuses to learn how to high step. He would have had an easy touchdown, but instead no touchdown, and also an injury that's kept him out of several games because again, he has a propensity to get caught from behind on big plays for whatever reason. And speed could be one thing that could eliminate that, but even if he just can't gain this extra gear, he just can't reach deep within himself to gain that extra gear, it's even more annoying that all you got to do is high step. And I'm not trying to bag on Terry McLaurin, but this is like all things that Adam Peters was basically saying without saying, like, okay, we're gonna pay this guy, but we just know from our data, from our statistics, wide receivers at 30 years old typically aren't supposed to be making the money that we ended up paying Terry McLaurin, which is why the deal ended up being kind of like a win-win, where like the Commanders win because it's not a lot of guaranteed money and stuff like that. Terry McLaurin win because it looked really good on the surface. But either way, this was Adam Peters' point. And again, back to the main point, the reason that this season started as poorly as it possibly could for him was because even outside of the injury, this guy he didn't even have a couple of really good games before he got hurt. I mean, the Marcus Mariota game, he had that big catch, which should have been a touchdown, and all of that, how that went down and everything. It ended up leading to the injury. So it's not even like even before he got hurt, he was balling. You can see the chemistry issues between him and Jaden Daniels, with Terry McLaurin missing the majority of the offseason, holding out for his contract. Then, even after they start to try to build on that chemistry, now he's hurt. So it's just really annoying. Terry McLaurin, I'm a big fan of yours, but you got to get it together. And so, of course, people are questioning, why didn't the Commanders just put Terry on IR if he was going to miss so many weeks to, hold that roster spot for somebody else that could have came in and contributed while Terry McLaurin's been missing games, and just reevaluate him after 4 weeks. But Tom Pelissero said that he's got a chance to play versus Dallas next week, but I feel like that's what I was told coming into this Bears game. But if he was fairly close to playing in this Bears game, then maybe he will play against the Cowboys, and we should have everybody, Samuel Cosmi, Noah Brown, and Terry McLaurin by the time we get to that Bears game. And speaking of the Cowboys game, and speaking of Samuel Cosmi, Debo and C-Rod, as you can see, are questionable. Looks like Andrew Wiley will start at right guard again because Cosmi is doubtful, which means that, of course, with the end of his 21-day practice window coming up against the Cowboys, he's 100% playing against them. The question is he going to play against the Bears? As of right now, I doubt it, because first of all, we don't necessarily need him. Our offensive line has been playing really well without him. He's just going to take it to another level. But now the worst part, honestly, about not having Terry is Chris Moore might play again, y'all. And I'll take Robbie Chosen, even not knowing the playbook, over what Chris Moore gave us last week with that drop touchdown where Jaden Daniels made one of the best plays of his career, and nobody's ever going to remember it. It's never going to be brought up in any highlights or anything like that because Chris Moore dropped the touchdown. And shouts out to Washington, D.C. Sports News. They brought up a great point. The fact that the Commanders have to pick between these two, Robbie Chosen and Chris Moore, is a huge problem that isn't being talked about enough. And I agree, bro. Trade for a wide receiver 3 at this point. Now, I'm a little iffy on that just because I'm sick of giving away draft picks from this team. I feel like we've given up enough, but man, we really do need a wide receiver 3 right now. But Luke McCaffrey's trying to step up. We'll see. But they also said these guys shouldn't be sniffing anything but a practice squad at best. And I mean that as respectful as possible, but I do agree with that. Robbie Chosen and Chris Moore actually having to play in games, regular season games for us is insane, and I know we better have this figured out before we get to the playoffs, because Chris Moore and or Robbie Chosen playing in games for us in the playoffs is absolutely insane. Now again, going back to Samuel Cosmi, Ben Standig says Samuel Cosmi is doubtful for Monday Night Football. Not a surprise, but the progress following months of rehab from ACL surgery appears legit. I'd expect him to be active next week. I don't think it's the injury. I think he's fully recovered from the torn ACL. It's just getting back to ready in football shape for full contact and things like that. He hasn't been in real live action since back in January. He missed mini camps, voluntary workouts, training camp preseason, and the first few regular season games. This guy's body is just not ready for the immense contact that's required in NFL games, especially in the trenches. That's all it is. But torn ACL wise, I think he's 100% ready to go, and I think he should be definitely ready by that Cowboys game, because again, they already opened up the 21-day practice window, and that's literally the deadline where he's required to play before he ends up on IR for the rest of the season, because that's the NFL's way of kind of like not allowing people to bend the rules and stuff like that and try to get away with a fast one. Also, again, Chris Rodriguez hasn't practiced, still dealing with a calf injury, and if he can't go, this will be the Bills show. McNichols will get work, but he'll likely stay in a passing down role until he's needed in maybe like a 4-minute situation, and a running back may get elevated from the practice squad. But if C-Rod's out, Bills carries will spike, bro. He's going to finally maybe reach 15 or more carries in a game, which would be really exciting. Also, for Deebo Samuel's status is still to be determined right now, questionable. Dan Quinn said the team is helping Deebo manage his bruised heel. Doesn't see this being like a season-long issue, which is great news, but enough of one for where the coach does not want to say whether the wide receiver is 100% in for Monday Night Football, but I'm pretty sure he'll play. Rio Robinson brings up a great point. Deebo doesn't even need to practice. See you Monday. And I completely agree, because guess what? He was there this entire offseason gaining chemistry with Jaden Daniels, learning a new part of the offenses, like from the plays and stuff like that from Cliff Kingsbury. He knows what's going on. Deebo doesn't have to practice. Terry does. And Terry hasn't necessarily been practicing, so that makes it even less likely that he plays. But we'll see. Hopefully he comes back for the Cowboys. And then also, literally just a few minutes ago, like literally 12 minutes ago, like right before I started recording this video, thank goodness I waited till the time that I did, but I'm happy to update y'all. Well, even though it's sort of bad news, but defensive tackle Eddie Goldman has been added to the injury list. He is questionable for Monday's game against the Bears because of an illness, but we'll see. But in positive news, one thing that I don't think a lot of Bears fans are realizing was different from this game compared to the last time we played them and we beat them. And again, I mean, for those of y'all that don't remember, we were dominating that game. We just kind of let up at the very end for some weird reason, and the Bears made a comeback. So don't let Bears fans fool you and act like they were winning that game the entire time. They had a super last second comeback, and then we had a last second of all last second comebacks with a Hail Mary. So we were winning. We had full control of that game for the majority of that game. And let alone the biggest difference between this game and that game, even though we still won that game and we controlled the majority of that game. Do the Bears fans realize that they are getting a non-broken ribs version of Jaden Daniels this time? And again, mind you, we controlled that game last time. Imagine how much we're going to be in control of this game now with Jaden Daniels without broken ribs. And now you add Deebo Samuel and Ja'Cory Cross-Merritt to the mix. Now, granted, you have to subtract Terry McLaurin, but Deebo's been hooping, bro. But now for the Bears side of the injuries, and they're not much better off. Now, granted, they do have a fairly good pile of news. Like, after consecutive practices being limited, cornerback Kyler Gordon was a full participant and has no injury designation, so he will debut versus Washington. He's been out for a while for them. Same thing with Darnell Wright with a right elbow, was full and has no injury designation, so he's returning for the Bears as well. But then kicker Cairo Santos with a right thigh injury is among 4 questionable versus Washington. And if they don't have their starting kicker, things could get ugly, because I think we're going to play bend but don't break defense. And if they end up going out there with some sort of like a backup kicker and he's missing kicks and making them miss out on points, things could get really ugly quickly for the Bears. But also, there was this update. Now, the Bears feel like this is a good thing. They feel like this is the right thing. I feel like as a Commanders fan, from my point of view, this is a bad thing for the Bears and a good thing for the Commanders. But undrafted free agent Theo Benedict will replace Braxton Jones at left tackle for Monday night's game against the Commanders. So this is an undrafted free agent making his first NFL start in his NFL career. Dorrance Armstrong, Von Miller, take advantage. Because, again, this one isn't even due to injury. They just genuinely think that this undrafted free agent gives them the best chance to win with his first start. I'm telling y'all, we are going to eat against him. Let's make sure we do that. Also, Marshall brings up a great point. Caleb holds on to the ball forever, and now they have a player playing his first game ever at left tackle. Go do your thing, Dorrance Armstrong and the rest of that defensive line. I think they can eat, bro. I think Caleb Williams is going to be going through it all game, especially because of that. They've already been going through it, but now, I mean, of course, it's not because of injury. They just feel like this undrafted free agent is better. But your first NFL game, we're going to throw a lot of things at them. Not even just like on a talent one-on-one basis type of thing. I'm talking about stunts. I'm talking about Joe Wood Jr. trying to confuse him and things like that. His head's going to be spinning. We're going to throw a lot at him. I can't wait to see how that turns out. I think we're going to have consistent pressure on Caleb Williams because a lot of it's going to be because of that. I felt like even without that, we naturally would have, because our defensive line has been great for that. We're going to talk about that in our matchups very soon. But on top of that, playing your first NFL game, undrafted free agent, oh man, we're going to eat. But now, before we move on to the matchups and stats, especially starting with the most important ones, and then we'll kind of do like a rapid fire matchups and stats that matter as well. Man, football is a full go. While I'm recording this right now, the 1 p.m. games are about to start. That Denver Broncos-Jets games was so boring and just terrible, man. I feel sorry for London, but either way, our game isn't going to be that boring because I know we're going to score points. We'll see what the Bears do, but I know the Commanders are going to score points, man. And with Sleeper, you now have a chance to 1,000 times your cash on daily fantasy football. Washington football has never been more exciting than it is right now, with Jaden Daniels ready to put up crazy numbers against the Bears. Bills ready to go on a hot streak of Cliff Kingsbury finally giving them the ball constantly. And Deebo Samuel has looked like the best player on the team through the first few weeks, bro. And you can pick on stats for these stars like touchdowns, passing yards, receiving yards, fantasy points, and more for up to 1,000 times payout on Sleeper. And right now, as you can see on the screen, new users can even get a free $20 without a deposit, on top of the already get a 100% match up to $100 on your first deposit using promo code SCORE. That's SCORE. And of course, you can even just click the link at the top of the description of this video and every video on live stream I'll be doing all season. And of course, I will be live streaming that game tomorrow night, play-by-play analysis, all 4 quarters, starting an hour before the game, and probably streaming, especially after a win, you know what I'm saying, maybe an hour after the game as well. So make sure you pull up for that. But also, I want to dive into some of the fun that I'm getting into, because I've specifically put together an 8-leg for this Monday night matchup between the Commanders and Bears specifically. So if you look on the screen right now, I have Caleb Williams over on rushing attempts. Now, that's not necessarily to say that he's going to get any significant amount of yards. I think he's just going to be under pressure so much, he's going to end up scrambling, and I think he'll end up, whether it's a quarterback design run or him scrambling, at least 6 times. I think he could at least give you 6 scrambles, even if it's only for like 1 or 2 yards. I think he'll be able to make it back to the line of scrimmage, maybe right up in front of it. That counts. If he does that at least 6 times, we're good to go there. But even just beyond that, and then just to let you know too, for that one, he's done it at worst all season 5 times. At worst. I think he can get you 5.5. Then you also have Chris Moore. Again, I have no faith in Chris Moore. I think the Commanders are starting to get to the point where they don't have faith in him either. So even if he does play, I think it's going to be more of a special teams thing. I don't predict him getting 20.5 receiving yards, bro. I really don't. I went the under there. Jaden Daniels doesn't throw interceptions. He's not going to start against this Bears defense. Is literally historically bad. They're the second. We're going to talk about this very soon. They're the second worst run defense in NFL history, not in NFL this season, NFL history through the first 5 weeks of a season, bro. It is horrible. So why would Jaden Daniels even need to throw the ball? And then when he does, guys are probably going to be wide open because the Bears are going to have to do everything they can in their control to try to slow down the best run offense in the NFL. I mean, we have the #1 rush offense going against the second worst run defense in the NFL history. Why would Jaden Daniels even be tempted to throw an interception? And then he already doesn't really throw interceptions like that. Then Deebo Samuel, I think he can get you 71.5 rushing plus reception yards. He just had 96 last week. He had 81 the week before and 96 week 1. I think he's going to go right back to hooping against the Bears as well. Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, 79.5 rushing reception yards. He just had 150 last week, the first time that Cliff Kingsbury finally unleashed him. And on top of the fact that C-Rod is unhealthy, even if he does play, he's probably going to be limited. On top of that, even ignoring Chris Rodriguez, even if Chris Rodriguez was 100% healthy, I think Cliff Kingsbury finally realizes we need to get the ball in Bill's hands as often as possible. So 79.5, I think he's going to clear that probably even before the first half, to be honest with you. I think that line is entirely too low. Then Bobby Wagner, I think he's going to get more than the 9.5 tackles. He's done that all season. The least he's had in the game this season was 10. I think he's going to get it against them. Then Olamide Zaccheaus, hey, you remember that name? Played for the Commanders last year. I'm not going yards. I'm just going receptions, just period. I think he can get 3 catches. He had 3 catches at least in every game except for that one Detroit Lions game where he only had 2. He was just 1 catch away from reaching that as well. I don't think he's going to have a great game. I think he's just going to end up with 3 receptions as we focus on stopping DJ Moore and Rome Odunze and all of those guys. And then Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, I see him getting any type of touchdown, bro. He had 2 last week against the Chargers, and the Chargers are a way better defense than the Bears. So, again, I think we're good to go here. Again, shouts out to Sleeper. Now let's get back to the second half of this video. Let's talk about these matchups and stats that are. We're going to start with the most important, and then we're going to rapid fire a few more before we go to my score prediction. Starting with Washington's run offense versus the Bears' run defense. I don't have this hat on for no reason, man. I'm telling y'all, Bill is about to go crazy. Just to let you know, the Bills are 31st in the NFL this season at overall yards allowed. But when it comes to yards per carry, they are the second worst in NFL history, y'all. And shouts out to Shane Preacher for pointing out the fact that the Commanders are the second best run team in all of football. But actually, on a per carry basis, just like the Bears, we are actually #1. So don't overthink it. Cliff Kingsbury Monday night. Just get that man the ball. And in comparison, like, Aston Genty, when he went against us, only had 63 rushing yards. When he went against the Bears, he had 138 rushing yards, a rushing touchdown, and 2 receiving touchdowns. The Bears literally just can't deal with running backs. It's not even just the run game. It's also even the passing game as well. They literally don't know what to do against running backs, bro. Because just listen to this. Even outside of the Commanders game, Aston Genty, 38 yards week 1 versus the New England. 43 yards versus the Chargers, 63 against us, and 67 against Indianapolis. How about again? 138 versus the Bears. The Bears are the get right. If you can't run the ball against anybody else, you can run the ball against the Bears. And again, mind you, the Commanders are the best run game team in the entire NFL. Right now, we have 5.9 rushing yards per rush, which is #1 in the NFL. We're #1 at 156.4 rush yards per game. That's first in the NFL, of course, as well. And then we have 1.4 rushing touchdowns per game, and that's 4th. We would probably have more if Jaden Daniels wasn't just so diddly with his arm, and also if he didn't miss 2 games. Also, again, in comparison, the Bears are allowing 164.5 rushing yards per game, which is second last in the NFL. But the 6.1 yards per rush is not only the worst in the NFL, but that's the second worst in NFL history, bro. I even saw somewhere where, again, Bears content creators, they were the ones talking about how they have the second worst run defense in NFL history through 5 weeks of football, bro. So I'm telling y'all right now, start Bill in every fantasy league that you have him in and bet the over on every Bill rushing yards line, bro. I'm telling you, bro, he's going to eat, man. He's going to feast. And even just comparing their defense to ours, like, a lot of people feel like the sky's falling with our defense, but our defense isn't as bad as the Bears. Look at this right here. We're actually kind of like the upper echelon of points allowed per game by our defense, even as bad as that Falcons game was, compared to the Bears, where they're one of the bottom 6 teams, tied for 5th worst in 29 points allowed per game, bro. I'm just not understanding why we would not be able to run the ball and put up a lot of points against them. And going back to running the ball specifically, look at Ja'Cory Cross-Merritt in this chart right here, man. He is literally playing like the best running back in the entire NFL. I've shown y'all this chart before, but just to let you know, if you're in the top left, you're inconsistent, but you may get explosive runs here and there. If you're at the bottom left, you're just horrible. You don't get explosive runs, and you're inconsistent. You don't churn out yards and get consistent good runs. You're just a every now and then nothing going on type of guy. Worst case scenario. Bottom right, you're consistent, but you never get explosive runs. You're just 2 to 5 yards here and there all the time. How about Ja'Cory Cross-Merritt is the best of both worlds, to where he's the most consistent running back in the NFL by far, and he's also the second most explosive. But again, like I've told y'all, he's so consistent with his explosiveness that he is leading the NFL right now by far in yards per rush attempt and yards per rush attempt after contact as well, bro. He's playing like the best running back in the NFL. Why wouldn't he ball out against this Bears awful run defense, historically the second worst in NFL history? And then Cliff Kingsbury, shouts out to him though. He keeps calling out Bill. He said, quote, he has to keep working to become a complete back, but since day one, when he touches the ball, he does good things with it, unquote. So he said it's never been a question of his running ability when he has the ball in his hands. It's about what does he do without the ball, route running, pass protection. And I'm seeing improvements there as well, and I feel like that's playing a part in the why he's starting to get on the field more often and get more touches, to where it's not Chris Rodriguez out there the first 2 drives of the game. It's not Jeremy McNichols out there immediately by drive 2 or 3. It's the Bill show, and that's how it should go, man. But shouts out to Anthony Lynn. You can see this clip right here uploaded by John Com, where Anthony Lynn is working with Bill for an entire period just on route running alone. This is completely separate from outside of the mandatory practice that everybody else is participating in. I don't know if this is before or after practice, but Bill is personally working one-on-one with Anthony Lynn to improve on his route running, bro. He said this is part of what they want to improve, and this is good one-on-one time. And Bleeding Burgundy and Gold brings up a great point. He said Anthony Lynn is probably the most unheralded guy in that entire building, bro. Because remember, Dan Quinn, I don't know if it was by accident or on purpose, but he kind of let us know, like, Anthony Lynn has control over which running back is in the game at any given point. Of course, Cliff Kingsbury is the one calling the plays, but Anthony Lynn controls which running back's in the game. And so now it's not only just Cliff Kingsbury, it's also Anthony Lynn starting to gain more trust with Bill. And also, before we move on to the next important matchup and stats that we got to break down, I thought it was interesting that Bill, back on October 8th, posted to Twitter, I need a celebration name. I need like a celebration dancing name that we're working on. That just shows a level of confidence that, I'm expecting to score touchdowns, to the point that I need a celebration and a name for that celebration, bro. That's how confident Bill is going into this game, that he's about to put up some points, which is again why I'm going over on his anytime touchdown. I think he's gonna hoop, especially based off of the stats that I just gave y'all. But we've already seen it. On 4th and 7, before we even hike the ball, is Jaden Daniels and Deebo Samuel celebrating their touchdown that they're about to get. Mind you, 4th and 7. And then they go out there and score the touchdown and then do the celebration. Come on, man. When the Commanders are preparing to celebrate, it's worked out so far. So I'm expecting Bill to have a reason to celebrate and score at least 1 touchdown against the Bears. Now moving on to the next most important matchup. This is the Washington Commanders pass rush versus the Bears offensive line and their lack of pass protection, and also Caleb Williams and how bad he is under pressure. Let's start with him being bad against pressure, his struggles against pressure. Shouts out to Josh Taylor over there at A to Z Sports. He brings up great points. He said the good news for the Bears fans is that quarterback Caleb Williams doesn't take sacks nearly as much as he did last season. He's only been sacked 7 times with his newly revamped offensive line, which is a drastic improvement from last year. The downside, however, is that Williams still faces a lot of pressure, and he doesn't perform well when he does. Williams faces pressure on 31% of his dropbacks, and that's when his production drops drastically. According to Summer Sports, Williams has completed 17 of 36 passes. That's 47.2% for 137 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. And his yards per attempt when pressured are just 3.6. That is awful. For comparison, his overall passing stats show a completion percentage of 62.3%. 81 of 130, 927 passing yards, 8 touchdowns to 2 interceptions, and 7.1 yards per attempt. This demonstrates how significant pressure affects his performance, with his completion percentage dropping by 15.1% points and his yards per attempt falling by 3.5 yards when he's under duress, bro. That is scary stuff. If I'm a Bears fan, if I'm Caleb Williams, I am frightened, bro. And then mind you, not only is Caleb Williams horrible against pressure, the Commanders are great at getting pressure. I mean, look at the sack leaders right now in the NFL before that Broncos and Jets game where Nick Benito just went out there and got him a couple. Dorrance Armstrong is tied for third in the NFL in sacks right now with 5, bro. It's Nick Benito on an island of his own. You had Byron Young with 5.5, and then everybody else has 5 or less. Dorrance Armstrong is in the company of Brian Burns, Aiden Hutchinson, and Josh Sweat right now. And mind you, the Bears have 5 sacks as an entire team. Dorrance Armstrong has 5 sacks himself. So we are way better at getting after the quarterback than even the Bears are, let alone Jaden Daniels is a far better quarterback under pressure than Caleb Williams, and let alone Jaden Daniels is far more mobile than Caleb Williams as well. He's faster, more agile, he's smarter running with the ball as well. I mean, it's just a whole different ball game that we're playing than those guys. Or even if you don't want to just go based off of Dorrance Armstrong, maybe you're assuming that he's just the one bright spot on this defensive line. No. Because not only are the Commanders 6th in the NFL in pass rush win rate out of the entire NFL, that means our entire defensive line, but also we're number 2 in the NFL in run stop win rate. So you're better off trying to throw the ball against us and hoping we don't get to your quarterback than you even are trying to run the ball against us right now. So we could easily make the Bears one-dimensional, take away their run game, and then get easy, consistent pressures on Caleb Williams and completely throw him off of his game. Wouldn't be surprised if this game is a blowout, to be honest with you. And shouts out to Real Robinson because I completely agree. Now, even though Jordan McGee did miss some tackles in that game, you saw that crazy athleticism and speed. It really showed and it really mattered against the Chargers. Real Robinson said, I need 7 Jordan McGee blitzes against Caleb Williams' scary self on Monday. I completely agree. Now, another matchup before we rapid fire some matchups and stats. How about our defensive backs versus their wide receivers? Bleeding Burgundy and Gold brings up a great point. He said, I just seen a Bears fan call Lattimore washed. Well, what is DJ Moore then? He said that boy Ben got to manufacture that man touches out of the backfield because he's out there getting clamped, and I think our secondary is ready for him, bro. I really do. I mean, mind you, last week against the Chargers, on 41 coverage snaps, Marshall Lattimore only allowed 1 catch for 6 yards, bro. Maybe he's starting to finally get into a rhythm. Now, I feel like the majority of it is because our defensive line was so great. I don't see why they wouldn't be great against the Bears. So I think Marshall Lattimore can go out there and finally put 2 good games together in a row for the first time since basically we traded for him. And then Lattimore's 2.4% target rate was his 5th lowest in a game since 2018. But yet he only spent 26.8% of his coverage snaps playing man coverage, which is what he's best at. He's better at man than zone. He only did it 26.8% of the time against the Chargers, and that's the 10th lowest rate that he's had in the game since 2018. So man, now he's suddenly learning how to adapt to playing zone coverage, which is what Joe Wood Jr. wants to do. That's great to hear. And of course, it's not just Marshall Lattimore. Mike Sammerstill has now gone back-to-back games with interception. He's starting to finally look like his last year self. And then on top of that, Trey Amos is playing like a lockdown corner right now. He's only allowed 8 receptions on 15 targets so far, and I mean, teams just don't really target him much. They prefer to literally throw the ball at Sammerstill and Lattimore over our 2nd-round rookie and Trey Amos, bro. I think this cornerback group, I think this secondary, even with Will Harris hurt, now Darnell Savage stepping in, Jeremy Reeves stepping up, I think this secondary, especially with the defensive line getting consistent pressure on Caleb Williams, is going to give the Bears offense a lot of problems. Now moving on to other matchups and stats that we can get into, and I wanted to show y'all this chart here while I'm just talking so you can kind of look at how we compare on just overall team wise. And this is offensive EPA per play and offensive metrics versus defensive metrics and things like that. How do our offenses compare against each other, and how do our defenses compare against each other? And if you're looking right now, the Commanders look like the far better team. But also, JP Finley brings up a great point. Lost in the Hail Mary conversation from last year, Washington should have had a big lead at some point in that game, but got repeatedly bogged down in the red zone. We had 2 field goals inside the Bears' 10-yard line. Now with Bill in this offense and Debo as well, and then I think Zach Ertz is going to have a big bounce back game, y'all. I don't see us getting within the 10-yard line and not scoring touchdowns this time around, bro. We allowed them to stay in that game last year. Like, we were the better team for like 3.5 quarters, easily. But we just let them stay in. We let them stay in range, and then they end up having to come back and end up taking the lead, and then we end up winning the game with the Hail Mary. I don't think we let them get away with that this year. I don't think we take the take them lightly. I think we convert a lot of our third downs. I think we convert, we score when we get in the red zone touchdowns instead of field goals. I completely agree there. Also, the Bears lead the NFL in pre-snap penalties on offense. As a result, it affects the way Ben Johnson calls his offenses right now and the way he calls plays. And I think we can definitely force them into a lot of those situations. Commanders fans, we need y'all loud. We need y'all in the all black. We need to have that home field advantage. The Bears right now are the worst team in pre-snap penalties, and they're about to go on the road. They were horrible at home, let alone on the road when we're making crowd noise. So please, y'all that are going to be at that game, be as loud as you can when the Bears are on the field, because they are very liable to end up in a lot of first and long, second and long, third and longs because of some false starts, delay of games, illegal motions, illegal formations, all type of stuff. Y'all can force those. Fans, y'all can affect this game and help the Commanders win, so please be loud. Also, another important stat, Deebo Samuel is number 1 in the NFL with 36.8 yards per kickoff return. Luke McCaffrey, 6th. He used to be second until last week in the NFL with 31.4 yards per kickoff return. We have the best kickoff return tandem in the entire NFL easily. And don't forget, Jalen Lane already returned a punt against the Raiders for a touchdown. We have the best return unit in the entire NFL, and I think that's going to play a role in this Bears game. It didn't play much of a role against the Chargers. I think it will against the Bears. Also, Deuce Red Zone brings up a great point. Some folks out there saying that Deebo Samuel is not a wide receiver too because he's more of a weapon. But here are his air yards. We're talking about air yards, wide receiver. 10 to 19 air yards. He's 8 of 13 for 134 yards and a touchdown. In 20 plus air yards, he's 2 of 3, 2 catches on 3 targets, 45 yards and a touchdown. Can he possibly be both? I definitely think he is. He is definitely both. Also, because of this upcoming Bears matchup, the Bears defense compared to the Commanders offense, ESPN Fantasy has Jaden Daniels ranked as the number 1 quarterback going into this week in fantasy. Like, they feel like he has the potential to score the most points out of every quarterback in the entire NFL this week. I mean, if you look on the screen right now, they have Jaden Daniels 1, Josh Allen 2 versus that Falcons defense. Jalen Hurts, it did not work out how anybody thought it would. Then you have Stafford versus that Baltimore Ravens defense, then Justin Herbert, then Pat Mahomes, so on and so forth. They have Caleb Williams notably at 7, but they feel like Jaden Daniels is going to outperform Caleb Williams, and that's all that matters. And then now, I know a lot of y'all always are requesting the official crew cheat sheet, the ref stat sheet. Shouts out the NFL ref stats on Twitter. Brought up the fact that referee Alex Moore ranks number 1 in offensive penalty per game average. And pre-snap penalties are a major point of emphasis with this crew as well, accounting for 45.5% of their penalties called, bro. Pre-snap penalties. And again, mind you, the Bears are the worst pre-snap team in the NFL, and the Commanders are the home team. We should definitely force a lot of pre-snap penalties on the Bears. It's just a match made in heaven there. The all-important false start, off-hold combination accounts for 49% of their penalties that this referee team is calling, and the average in the NFL is 37.9%. So this is like the Bears' worst nightmare. They're already the worst pre-snap penalty offense in the NFL, and then this is the referee crew that literally calls them the most in the entire NFL. I keep waiting for this crew to dial back on excessive penalties, but so far, this hasn't happened. And the Chicago Bears are a top 10 penalized team for pre-snap penalties. Washington has had some offensive penalty issues also, but have dealt with multiple quarterbacks under center, whereas Chicago's had more continuity at quarterback, and yet they still get more penalties. Third down alert as well. 31% of the Commanders' penalties are committed on third down plays, well above the league average of 20.4%, so we got to be better there. The positive for Washington, though, is that Alex Moore's crew co-ranked last calling third down infractions, so they let people play. So the one weakness penalty-wise that the Commanders have is that we get a lot of penalties on third down specifically. We just so happen to have the referee crew that is tied for the least third down penalties called, so they just let them play. We should be fine there. Just 9% of this crew's penalties are called on the money down in 2025. Home teams are 3-2, SU, and against the spread, with Moore in his first season as a head referee. This is his second Monday Night Football game in 2025. Expect a ton of penalties on first and second down if form holds, and crowd noise absolutely can play a part and help the Commanders and put Chicago in long yardage situations. The Bears are looking to exercise their demons from the Hail Mary loss here last season, but I like Jaden Daniels more than Caleb Williams, and the home field gives Washington a big edge with this crew. He's predicting the Commanders to win 27-23. Now, speaking of predictions, shouts out to NFL Network, because somebody got to be trolling. That G Gordon guy is trolling. 73-0 is absolutely insane, bro. I don't even know what that means, bro. Where did he come up with that? And then also shouts out to Adam Rank, because he's staying consistent with his stupid take that the Bears are just better than the Commanders, that Caleb Williams is better than Jaden Daniels. Hey, let them keep saying it. Let's just go whoop them again this year. But either y'all, that's I don't know what's going on with the 73-0 though. Is that a troll? Is that like an edit? I've been seeing that picture go around enough to I think that's actually real. Either way though, moving on. Also want to show you this. The Commanders are 8-2 in our last 10 games against Chicago. Now, granted, the times that we did lose to them, they were pretty bad. They were pretty embarrassing where it felt like we never had a chance. And then the last couple of times we beat them, they've been really close. But before then, we were whooping up on them. And our games were rarely close. But then again, I mean, 41-21 back in 2016. That's what I want this game to basically look like. And then also, shouts out to Donna Hopkins for pointing this out. Commanders fans, getting you ready for Monday night game versus the Bears is going to be a sellout, like I already told y'all earlier. Again, like I told y'all earlier as well, the team is encouraging you not only to wear all black, but encouraging you to arrive early, bro. Also, this is a crucial catch game honoring all cancers. That's important as well. They're also celebrating the U.S. Navy 260th anniversary, so there will be game day activities. As you can see, like the picture I'm letting scroll through, the Safeway Red Zone lot opens 2 p.m. The parking lot's open 3 p.m. SeatGeek Legends Plaza opens 4 p.m. All gates open at 5, and then the game actually starts at 8:15. And apparently we're supposed to have some type of light show as well. So that Commanders atmosphere, that stadium is going to be insane. Now moving on to my score prediction, I personally have the Commanders winning 34-20. And of course, I'm not just going to give you a score without an explanation. I'm going to tell you what's going to happen in this game as well. Again, I have Commanders winning at home 34-20. I see the Bears getting a lot of penalties, but also I see the defense playing bend but don't break often, and also even forcing a couple of turnovers. We continue our turnover streak of 2 games, turning into 3, and I think we get 2 of them, whether it's 2 interceptions or an interception or a fumble, but I think at least one of them will be an interception. Maybe the other one is a strip sack forced fumble on Caleb Williams that we recover, because Caleb Williams is very turnover prone. Also, the Commanders are 13-1 with Dan Quinn as their head coach since he got here last season, when they have over 100 rushing yards after contact in a game. In this game, they will get well over 100 rushing yards after contact between Bill and Jaden Daniels and even Jeremy McNichols, and change that stat to 14-1. So I think we're definitely going to win this game, and that's a key stat right there. Mind you, the only time we lost was when our defense couldn't get a stop to save their lives against the Falcons a couple of weeks ago. Also, I think Zach Ertz has a bounce-back game, including a reception touchdown in this game. After he just went his first game without a reception since 2014 against the Chargers, I think he goes out there. I'm seeing like 4 to 6 catches for maybe 60 to 70 yards and a touchdown, especially as the Bears try their best to focus on stopping Jaden, Bill, and Debo. I think Zach Ertz is going to be open a lot. Also, I see us taking an early lead and never losing it in this game, being up double digits all game, like a consistent 12 to 13 to 14 points all game. And I think the Bears just barely score. Like, I think the score will at some point be 34 to 13, and the Bears just score like some type of garbage time touchdown to make it 20 points. I see them moving the ball quite a bit, but I think we'll force turnovers, bend but don't break, play some clutch defense as they get in the field goal range. Maybe they even miss a couple of field goals, maybe they make a couple, but I don't see them scoring a lot of touchdowns like we will in this game. And then, so y'all got to remember that last game, again, should have been a blowout by us. Then we messed around and let them come back, which led to a Hail Mary victory. And speaking of last year, we didn't have Bill nor Debo. We didn't have this version of Luke McCaffrey either. And most importantly, like I mentioned earlier, this Jaden Daniels doesn't have broken ribs, bro. This is a completely different team. This is a way better Commanders offense and even defense from last year. I see Jaden and Bill continuing to be the best run game in the NFL against the second worst run defense in the NFL history, and I see this being the most extreme form of an unstoppable force meeting a very movable object. The Commanders run game versus that Bears run defense, I think we're going to obliterate them there, to the point that they focus so many things on stopping our run game that we actually just ended up passing the ball all over them. And Jalen Lane maybe even gets 50 yards. Luke McCaffrey, 40-something yards here. Like, the Bears are just going to have to pick their poison, and I think they're going to pick wrong very often. And then also, before we get up out of here, shouts out to Ken Johannesson. Unrelated to the game, the Commanders had scouts present at the Indiana versus Oregon game yesterday, just to let you know. So if you're curious as far as like maybe some guys that the Commanders are starting to target in the draft, even though, of course, we're nowhere near draft season. I'm rooting for us. I think we're going to go to the Super Bowl this year. But I'm just letting y'all know as I get the information just to keep y'all updated. We did send scouts to look at some Indiana and Oregon players just to keep that in the back of your mind. But yeah, man, that's the end of this video. Please get in the comment section. Let me know if you feel about everything discussed. If you don't, still farm that like button, still farm the subscription button, still farm the bell next to that subscription button so you get notification each and every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one. Make sure you stay tuned to all of the content. Really appreciate y'all. If you're still watching me or listening to me, even if you just have me in your pocket and you're just listening, really appreciate you personally. Shouts out to my watch to the end gang, man, for real. WTTEG in the building. Shouts out to my late night crew that even though I'm releasing this in the afternoon, a lot of y'all gonna be watching this late night. And shouts out to notification gang, Noti gang, that pulls these up immediately after I release them. Of course, let me know in the comment section how you feel about everything I discussed in this video. Let me know if you agree, disagree with any of my points, and most importantly, let me know your score predictions and why, just like I did, where I gave you the score prediction, I gave you why, and I also told you like specific things that will happen, like Bill and Jaden are gonna go off, Zach Ertz is gonna have a bounce back game, we're gonna get 2 turnovers. Like, let me know your predictions like that in the comment section as well, but also leave a like on the way out. Appreciate y'all. I'm gonna catch y'all later. I'm out.